And for an expert analysis on Tokyo's decision to remove South Korea from its whitelist, Dr. Se-ryeon, law professor at Kyung Hee University, joins me in the studio today. Hello, Professor.
Happy to be here.
All right, so what we worried about the most ended up happening today.
Right.
Japan has decided to take Korea off of its list of countries that enjoy preferential trade conditions. What happens from here on out?
Well, first of all, it's regrettable that this trade dispute is escalating. The meaning of the Korea being left off the whitelist is obviously that it used to be that it was a blanket approval, pre-approval, that it was easy to kind of navigate through the process. But now it's permission-based every time, and it could take up to 90 days. So it's, in one word, a big red tape. And of course, it's going to hurt Korean economy because of the very close relationship that Korea and Japan had in terms of the supply chain management. So in that sense, I think that it's going to be a very painful period for some industries, although many industries have kind of had this kind of known risk for some time. So that's why I think that there were some good news about some companies that have already taken some measures to have stockpiles.
All right. Well, what kind of other countermeasures do you think South Korea could come up with at this time of difficulties?
At this point, the diversification, I guess. But of course, you have to kind of take head on the problem of separating the economic issues and the historical issues. So historical issues go much deeper between two countries. Long history has attested. I think that you can analyze these things to the team and come up with a lot of different reasons why both countries are doing, especially Japan. It seems like there's a lot of domestic issues that they're dealing with, and there was a concern that what's happening around this region would make Japan not very relevant. So maybe they're using this as kind of a noise marketing and kind of a tantrum that is designed to attract attentions from around the world. Whatever the reason is, I think that their stated goal of catering to the domestic base is probably would have to be countered by what kind of criticism that they garner from the world economy, especially not because of the moral reasons alone, but because of the real impact that will have on the global economy, especially to important countries, to Japan, which is the United States, which has a lot of tech sectors that relies on the kinds of supplies that comes from this neck of the wood.
All right. Now, going back to the impact this is going to have on the South Korean economy, obviously, we know that South Korea is actually the only Asian country on the 27-member whitelist that will be excluded from the list. So tell us more about how this would all affect the Korean economy, which is already struggling with a lot of issues right now.
Obviously, we're targeted. We know that because of their feeble excuse that it's a security related, that didn't really pan out that much, and we know that this came about because of the judicial decisions that the Supreme Court had. That goes directly to the question of who's at fault in terms of the colonial times and those. This is a very sensitive topic for Japan. That's why they are reacting seemingly kind of unnecessarily, kind of strongly. Yes. I think that as I mentioned before, because of that impact that spills over to the industries and business and economy, the short-term impact would be Korea, but also Japan will feel that too. And the long-term effect is to the world economy. I think that entails not only the economic issues, but it's the political as well, because that's related to what Donald Trump wants that happen in this region, that kind of feed back to his re-election campaign that goes to the political outlook, diplomatic outlook, and also economy. So in that sense, it's a complicated math, but as time goes by, probably Japan's outlook would be less rosy because I think they'll start to, as they have already now, hear from around the world that this is very worrisome, and the overwhelming criticism is directed towards not Korea, but to Japan.
So you mentioned this a little bit before, but what kind of a role can we expect the U.S. to play, especially with that trilateral meeting coming up between the foreign ministers of Japan and South Korea and U.S. Secretary of State Pompeo? We know that's coming up in Thailand. So what can we expect from the U.S. at this point in time?
Right. In the same vein, I think that for the United States, this is a tricky matter because Japan is very important for them. Also, Korea is very important for them. American bases in both countries, and for security reasons, we matter in terms of forming a team. And any kind of disruption in the alliances between three countries is a gain to the stated foe, namely China. So that's not what U.S. wants. And in the short term, they certainly don't want it in the long term and don't want that kind of landscape to settle in this region. So I think it's understandable that Mike Pompeo wants some resolution in this. I think that he has planned the meeting with Korea, meeting with Japan, and the trilateral meeting as well. That seems to suggest that he wants to play a role and probably has some message to both countries.
All right, we'll definitely put our eyes on what comes out of that meeting and what role the U.S. is going to play from here on out. Thank you so much for your insight today.
Thank you.